thank you so much for attending today. This is PGH Lab 9.0's Innovation Showcase. I'm Marlena Kane. I'm one of the program managers for PGH Lab, along with my coworker Trevor, who you're going to hear from in a little bit. I want to give a quick thank you to Riverside Center for Innovation, who's our event partner this evening. They provided us this wonderful space. And to get things started, I'm going to turn it over to Director Heidi Norman from the city's Department of Innovation and Performance for some opening remarks. Yay. Heidi, woo!
All right, well, welcome everyone. It's so good to see you all here. This is the Innovation Showcase, and we try to do this at the end of every cohort to really highlight the great work that our partner organizations are doing. So I'm actually just really curious. In this group, who are the people that are from our current cohort of companies? All right, got you guys spread out. Do we have any alumni? Nice, thank you for coming back. Let's see, City of Pittsburgh staff. That's a lot of us. General public, and you just came for the food. Yes, excellent, love it. Okay, well, we're really glad that you're all here. Thank you so much for coming. This program is something that's really special. Not many city governments get to do things like this, and it's actually been a model for other cities that come and study how we try to support the entrepreneurs in our city. I want to thank the staff, Trevor and Marlena, of course, for all the hard work they put into this. Of course, the folks that work with our entrepreneurs, and we have people from those departments that work really closely with them, as well as the entrepreneurs themselves and our community members who come together in events like this to show your support. And actually, there's a lot of great networking and follow-on conversations that happen after these events every time. So I always enjoy them very much. With the successful completion of this program, we like to highlight the work done by our cohort companies. So this year is the first year that we decided to make a fairly major change to the PGH Lab program with Cohort 9. For many years, we heard loud and clear the feedback from our entrepreneurs that it's very, very difficult operationally to go through this program and not to receive funding and that kind of support. While there was a lot of appreciation for the testing and the advice and those kinds of things, what they really needed in order to survive, because these are usually little companies that are just getting started, was really money. And so we've been thinking and trying to figure out, how can we do that? Because as a governmental organization, there's only so many pathways that we have for spending money, because our money are your taxes, right? So we need to figure out how do we do that. So I'm very, very fortunate to work with a brilliant set of leaders over here to my right and your left. We have Jake Pollack, who is Deputy Mayor and Director of our Office of Management and Budget. We have Chief Operating Officer and Administrative Officer, Lisa Frank, and our Chief Economic Development Officer, Kyle Chintalopoli. And they came up with the idea of how we could convert this program into what's called a first customer program. Therefore, the organizations that are in this cohort for the first time actually responded to a request for proposal. We had a lot of responses that came in. There were committees of people that reviewed the various applications, and 4 companies were selected, and they were placed under contract with us right from the start, which meant that we could also pay them. Now, no one's getting wealthy off of what we're paying. We get that. But we're hoping that it's enough money to kind of help keep things going while you're trying to grow your business inside of our program. Yes, right? As an alum of a couple of different entrepreneurial companies. I know how important operations funding and runway is, so I was pleased as punch that we finally figured out how to be able to do this. And I think it was pretty successful. The 4 companies that we have partnered with for the 9th cohort are Karar, are you here? Raise your hand, hello. We have Emily, okay, Kevin Chen. We have Velo, AI, hello. And we have Noteful. Hi. Okay, so the additional purpose for this evening will also be to facilitate more conversations about innovation in Pittsburgh and what your local city government can do to help, support, and innovate with you. And for that, we will have a panel discussion after the presentations. All right, so I want to tell you a little bit more about PGH Lab because it's been going for a number of years, and in fact, it was going by the time I even joined the city 7 years ago. So it's been, it's been almost 10 years now that this program has been underway. Look at her, she's here. Anya Alleman, everybody, who helped us to found this program. So it's a 6-month now paid pilot program that connects local startups with local government. It provides a platform for businesses to test their products and services with the public market, to receive feedback from their actual customers, and then to network with experts and city leaders. And we feel that in addition to benefiting our local entrepreneurs, that this really is also about mutual benefit, where the city of Pittsburgh also is allowed to innovate and figure out how we can do things better using the kinds of products and services that the bright minds in this room are coming up with. What we have experienced in the past is many of the products and services that we have tested have actually helped us to be more efficient, more transparent with the public about the types of things that we're doing. We've tested a lot of services that have helped us to become more sustainable in how we go about dealing with waste and food and things like that, and more inclusive through these new technologies and partnerships. So the agenda for this evening is we're going to have a video showcase of our cohort companies, and then we're going to have the innovation panel, and then we're going to have some time for networking. So once we get through the video showcase, if you haven't had a chance to avail yourselves of some of the delicious food, please do that, and then we'll have the panel and the networking. All right, so let's take it away and see the wonderful videos that our 4 companies have created.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Okay, great. So as part of the PGH Lab program, we had our companies work with our City Channel team to produce some videos to showcase the wonderful work that they're doing here with the city. So up first, we're going to show the Amelie video, and then we'll hear some words from Kevin.
I'm Marlena Kane.
And I'm Trevor Stahl.
And together we manage the PGH Lab program.
Now, let's hear from some of our 9.0 cohort members.
Hello, I'm Chase Klingensmith, the Digital Equity Program Analyst with Pittsburgh's Department of Innovation and Performance. In Pittsburgh, a large number of residents don't have adequate internet service. While the city sees correcting this issue as a top priority, the conduit that traditionally houses broadband fiber can be expensive and time-consuming to deploy. Through our partnership with Amelie and PGH Lab, the department is testing a new and cost-saving way to deploy fiber internet service by installing broadband cable in our existing wastewater pipe systems.
Hi, I'm Kevin Chen, founder of Amelie. Pittsburgh is famous for its beautiful bridge, strong industry, and resilient people. However, as an old city, we face many challenges, including aging infrastructures, landslide, and a lack of residential access to broadband internet. This jeopardizes both physical safety and the city's social and economic health. That's where Amelie comes in. We provide technical innovation and integrated solution to help a city like Pittsburgh to bridge the digital divide while safeguarding the infrastructure system. Using cutting-edge technology Emily created a fiber optic cable that provides internet service and sensing function to monitor ground movement and pipe condition, all within a single cable. We are working with the city and the sewer authority to install this cable in underground sewer tunnel without the need for digging. This sensor will help detect ground movement, changing load, and pinpoint pipe leaking, ensure a safer and better connect Pittsburgh.
By partnering with Emily, the city has the opportunity to strengthen its relationship with Pittsburgh's Water and Sewer Authority while exploring innovative deployment options to better connect Pittsburghers of all income levels. The city of Pittsburgh aims to connect all residents to affordable, high-speed internet by 2030. As we work towards this goal, testing and supporting the development of a process that uses existing infrastructure and allows for rapid rollouts is crucial. We need to meet all residents where they are effectively and in a timely manner to ensure we are accomplishing our goals on the desired timeline.
Through PGH Lab, this project allows Emily and Pittsburgh to demonstrate the feasibility of this new innovation while addressing real issue. To learn more about this project, visit www.aimili.com.
Thanks for watching.
To learn more about PGH Lab, check out our website.
All right, thank you. All right, and now I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Wow, what can I say? I just want to say thank you, and thank you. As you know that my company actually developed infrastructure monitoring technology. So we have to work with public city and the major utility operators. So I'm really grateful for City Pittsburgh to be the first one to try this technology. So I want to let you know that because you guys are my customer, can I say that? So, well, I already tell people. So now we're doing a demo for 3 major corporations, 1 defense contractors, 1 major oil and gas company, and 1 international partner. So hopefully that I can report you more in a couple months. Thank you.
All right, our next video is going to be about our company, Noteful.
Hi, I'm Marlena Kane,
And I'm Trevor Stahl.
and together we manage the PGH Lab program.
Now, let's hear from some of our 9.0 cohort members.
Hi, I'm Dwayne Ashley, a project manager with Pittsburgh's City Parks. I played the violin from age 5 until I was in high school, and the impact that music and music education has had on my life has been invaluable. At City Parks, we strive to incorporate new and innovative programming for the youth and adult residents in our communities. With our partnership with Noteful through PGH Lab, we want to bring music literacy and awareness to Pittsburgh communities in an upbeat and interesting way.
Hi, I'm Becky Billock, founder of Noteful. As a kid learning to play music, I really struggled to read music notes. I was obsessed with playing the piano, but I had a hard time navigating music notation, and I ended up feeling embarrassed in situations where I was expected to read music. Through a long, difficult process, I eventually figured it out, but later, as a music teacher, I discovered that many students experienced the same frustration I did. That's why my team and I developed Noteful, a fun gamified app that provides daily bite-sized lessons for music learners. We use interactive exercises to teach fundamental skills that musicians use to read music, play by ear, and understand how music is put together.
Hi, I'm Emily Trout, a business partner in the city's Department of Human Resources. As someone who has always been passionate about music, I was drawn to Noteful's mission. The unfortunate truth is that not everyone has access to music education and the many benefits that it offers to both youth and adult learners. The city's partnership with Noteful aims to break down some of those barriers to music access. By offering a series of free workshops with Noteful at local recreation centers, we've created an opportunity for learners of all ages to become inspired and continue their music education.
The Noteful app is a great introduction to music education. It's informative, enjoyable, and engaging. The app is also inclusive for participants of all ages and has been presented at our community recreation centers to youth, adults, and individuals with special needs.
Noteful makes learning music more exciting and accessible through features that remind us of our favorite games, like earning points, unlocking new levels, and maintaining a streak to motivate continued engagement. At each Recreation Center workshop, we introduce participants to our app's features and get them excited to dive into music, unlocking their potential by infusing fun into the learning process.
Noteful is a wonderful resource for anyone who may have previously missed out on the opportunity to learn music or is looking to enjoy its benefits now. You can start your music education journey today by visiting www.noteful.net or by trying the app yourself.
Thanks for watching.
To learn more about PGH Lab, check out our website.
All right. And now let's hear from Becky.
Thank you. It's been a real privilege to be able to provide music education opportunities for the citizens of Pittsburgh. And I want to take the opportunity to thank Trevor and Marlena for their work heading up the program, as well as to Dwayne Ashley and Emily Trout, the city champions who collaborated with me throughout the pilot program. In addition to providing these educational opportunities for Pittsburgh residents, I also wanted to just talk about how we have benefited as a young company from especially being part of this first cohort that has been funded. We have now I think nearly 7 times as many subscribers as we did when we started the program. And we also, due to the funding, we were able to hire 3 interns this summer, which are really helping our progress through towards the benchmarks that we're trying to reach. Once again, I really appreciate the opportunity for to be able to be part of this program. And I do have an ask that if any of you are personally connected to decision makers in any of the 52 school districts here in Western Pennsylvania, I would love to have a warm introduction. But once again, thank you for the opportunity to share our music education solutions with the wider community of Pittsburgh.
Thanks, Becky. All right, up next, we're going to watch the video about Karar.
Hi, I'm Marlena Kane,
And I'm Trevor Stahl.
and together we manage the PGH Lab program.
Now, let's hear from some of our 9.0 cohort members.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Olzinger, the Chief Procurement Officer for the City of Pittsburgh. In the city's Office of Management and Budget, most of our purchases require a detailed cost analysis to finalize. Some of these purchases are urgent, so speed is essential. Unfortunately, our current process can be slow due to limited resources, and cost proposals received aren't always consistent, making comparisons difficult. This is where Karar comes in.
Hi, I'm Nair Kutubuddin from Karar. Our software helps teams quickly create accurate cost-benefit analyses, enabling faster and more confident budget decisions. The City of Pittsburgh's procurement team deals with many high-value, complex cost proposals from vendors. Traditionally, these are completed on spreadsheets to estimate the total cost of ownership over multiple years, ensuring the city stays on budget without sacrificing future initiatives. However, these proposals vary greatly, making it time-consuming to standardize them for comparison.
We've been collaborating with Nair and his team through the PGH Lab to streamline our analysis process and maximize value for our citizens. Karar's software standardizes complex cost proposals, giving us uniform data across all submissions. This allows us to understand the total cost of ownership over multiple years. Additionally, vendors can directly input their information into the system, ensuring ease of access, data integrity, and cost accuracy.
During our PGH Lab pilot, we've worked with the Chief of Procurement and her team to quickly build cost analyses for high-value RFPs, such as those for enterprise software contracts. We've also improved the procurement process on the vendor side, making it more collaborative and accurate, easing the burden on the procurement and budgeting teams. This streamlined approach helps decision makers select the best options more easily. We've already noticed significant improvements. By standardizing vendor cost proposals with Karar, evaluations are faster and more objective, shaving weeks off the evaluation phase. Ultimately, we expect these efforts to save hundreds of thousands of dollars, freeing up funds for other important city initiatives.
The results have already been incredible. We've analyzed several projects using Karar, greatly improving our speed and efficiency in reviewing high-level procurements. Looking ahead, we hope to continue our work with Karar, expand our pilot efforts, and educate our vendors on this new software so they can provide more robust cost proposals for any city procurement. For more information on Karar, visit www.kararpro.com.
Thanks for watching.
To learn more about PGH Lab, check out our website.
All right, and here's Nair.
All right, so just like everyone else, I'd like to extend a few thanks to all of the executive sponsors, the INP team, my personal champion, Jennifer Alzinger, and her team as well, the OMB team who worked with us, just a lot of different people. It really is a big deal to be able to work with someone like this, the city of Pittsburgh and so forth. And I wanted to give one short example of like how this actually we live through this day to day. So you saw in the video that we kind of changed the process. And so we're building out these cost proposals that we've got to go out and talk to different vendors and so forth. So one day in a meeting I said, well, what if you were to let me talk to the vendors directly and have them input their cost proposals directly into the platform? And normally I'd say, I've worked in like large companies as well, they're pretty risk averse, and people might think that a municipal government is also pretty risk averse, but it was almost like a non-issue. Like Jennifer was like, yeah, like let's try it. Like that's a big deal. Like to be able to kind of get to a really quick decision and try something and truly be innovative, I think that was amazing, and it kind of like shows the power of this type of program, because we might not have access to that without such a program and such leadership. So thank you again, and look forward to meeting a bunch of you. Thanks.
Okay, and our final video is showcasing Velo.
Hi, I'm Marlena Kane.
And I'm Trevor Stahl.
And together we manage the PGH Lab program.
Now, let's hear from some of our 9.0 cohort members.
Hi, I'm Clark, the founder and CEO of Velo AI. Despite being a bike commuter for decades, nothing unsettles me more than sharing roads with cars. That's why we created Copilot, an AI-powered safety device that will make our streets safer for everyone, starting with bicycles. There are 44 million people in the US who bike regularly, yet safety remains their #1 concern. In fact, in 2022, over 1,100 cyclists died on US roads. That's in addition to 130,000 cyclist injuries and an untold number of near misses. Over the past decade, pedestrian and cyclist fatalities have increased by 75%. We must make our streets safer, and at Velo AI, we're doing just that.
Hi, I'm Ernie Francisstein from Pittsburgh's Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. We're excited to partner with Velo AI to collect data using their bike-mounted safety device, Copilot. Through our 6-month pilot with PGH Lab, data will be collected and analyzed to identify high-risk areas, allowing the city to make data-driven decisions on cycling infrastructure and helping us forge a safer, more efficient future for urban cyclists.
Copilot is the world's smartest cycling companion. Mounted directly below your bike seat, our device uses a camera to monitor the road behind you and acts as a second set of eyes. Using AI, Copilot recognizes vehicle behaviors and alerts cyclists to approaching traffic through audio and visual cues. Copilot's lights also alert drivers to cyclists on the road, making everyone more aware and stopping collisions before they can occur.
Beyond increasing safety, Copilot is also a mobile data collection tool. During each ride, it gathers data on cyclists and vehicle interactions, including vehicle speeds, passing distances, near misses, and even infrastructure quality. Not only can our pilot users use this data to track their daily rides, but it will also serve as a valuable resource to the department's ongoing assessment of infrastructure and street safety.
By partnering with city government, we can leverage the data from Copilot to inform decision-making. While enhancing cyclists' and drivers' awareness of their surroundings is crucial, the cornerstone of safer streets lies in robust infrastructure and effective policy informed by real-world data.
We're glad to be working with the team at Velo AI on this pilot project. The Department of Mobility and Infrastructure and Velo AI are both dedicated to making streets safe for our most vulnerable users. Our pilot with PGH Lab aims to be a model for using public and private collaboration to achieve safer streets for all of our Pittsburgh residents.
You can visit www.velo.ai to learn more and join our ride towards safer streets.
Thanks for watching.
To learn more about PGH Lab, check out our website.
All right, and now we'll hear from Clark.
So I think with everyone else, I just want to say thank you to PGH Lab. This was really, really fun. And I want to talk about this idea that Heidi mentioned of first customer. For us, we're actually selling a consumer product. So our normal customer is just like your everyday person biking on the road. But we've always had this promise of being able to use the devices and the data for other purposes. And I think that's what was really exciting for us about PGH Lab, was getting a set of people that wanted to get into the data and really start to understand how we can sort of design our city infrastructure better. We believe in building a really, really smart bike light, but we also don't think bike lights alone are going to save lives. And really the most important thing is the work that the city is doing to install infrastructure at critical intersections and roadways where bicyclists need it most. But also on first customer front, I'm also excited to say that after PGH Lab came through for us, we've actually been able to use that to build a lot of credibility. And we've brought on follow-on city customers from other places in the country. And that's really exciting because it's helping us really, really grow this technology and get it out there. So thank you.
All right, let's have one more round of applause for all of these companies. Really, really wonderful work being done. So the next part of the evening is going to be our panel. We'll probably take just about 10-minute break here. Please enjoy some more food, enjoy chatting, and we'll meet back here in about 10 minutes. Thanks very much.
All right, everyone, thank you for your attention. We're actually going to kick off the panel now. So we actually have a really great lineup of folks from across the ecosystem here. So quick round of applause for them taking some time out of their days for us. So I want to give a quick, brief introduction. We've pulled it from their bios. So first off, we actually have Karen Lightman, who's the Executive Director of Safety 21, as well as the Executive Director of Metro 21 Smart Cities Institute at Carnegie Mellon University. She is an internationally recognized leader in building and supporting communities based on emerging technologies. She's also a passionate advocate and spokesperson for technology solutions to real-world problems and has held several board positions spanning the ecosystem and is currently the treasurer on the board of Metro Lab Network. So thank you, Karen, for joining us today. Next, I want to introduce Director Jake Pollock, who currently serves as the Deputy Mayor of the City of Pittsburgh and the Director of the Office of Management and Budget for the City of Pittsburgh. Prior to joining the administration, Director Pollock served as Mayor Gainey's transition director. He has worked at all levels of government, including the Pennsylvania Senate and US Senate. At the local level, though, he has held senior strategic and policy roles with the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority. So thank you, Director Pollock, for joining us today on the panel. Next up, I'd like to introduce Anya Ailman, who is an experienced professional in the innovation strategy and impact design, and currently the innovation director at Ascender. She has worked for local government, business, and nonprofit, bringing over a decade of experience helping organizations with strategy and program development. Previously, she actually worked at the city of Pittsburgh, and as kind of mentioned earlier, she helped found the PGH Lab program and has continued to make waves in the innovation ecosystem with her work at Ascender, overseeing educational programs for entrepreneurs, mentorship, experience coaching, incubation, and a collaborative co-working space in East Liberty that helps drive innovation and growth. So thank you, Anya, for joining us today. The last person I'd like to mention is Aaron Morris. Aaron is a seasoned roboticist and serial entrepreneur recognized for his experience in transitioning cutting-edge technologies into commercially viable products and services. His career is marked by a series of successful ventures, including founding of Allpoint Systems, which was acquired by Autodesk, and Allvision, a venture-backed geospatial AI company that formed a strategic partnership with WholePoint and was actually a previous PGH Lab pilot, so he's also a PGH Lab alumni. His leadership roles have not been only involved in the development of innovative products, but also corporate partnerships, acquisitions, and steering committees through significant growth phases. Beyond his entrepreneurial endeavors, he is actively involved in the board appointments with organizations such as Pittsburgh Technology Council and the National Youth Science Academies. So Aaron, thank you as well for joining us today. As you can kind of see from our board here, we have a pretty wide span of the ecosystem. We've got some individual questions for y'all, but we have some ecosystem questions as well. And that's actually where I want to start to kind of get the conversation rolling. So, panelists, our first question for you is, what do you see as the most pressing challenge that Pittsburgh faces in becoming a leader in technology and innovation? And then if you could touch a little bit on how do you or your organizations contribute to addressing these challenges? And Karen, we're making eye contact, so I'm going to kick it to you.
So I would venture to say that Pittsburgh is the hotbed for innovation and technology. And we have, there's a statistic that talks about the number of intellectual property and patents and all these great indicators, all this money from National Science Foundation, National Institutes of Health. We score so high, but then on our performance, like thinking about jobs and wealth creation that stays in the region, we don't score as well. And I've kind of likened it, and maybe you've heard me say this before, it's like somebody with a learning disability. I have 2 kids with ADHD, and they have high IQs, but their performance, their academic performance was not commensurate with their level because they needed executive functioning skills. They needed other support. And I feel like sometimes Pittsburgh is like that. And I've been in Pittsburgh now. I'm a Pittsburgher by choice. I've been here since '98. And I actually was here in the early to late 90s, 92, 94, as a student. And so I feel like I can say this with some authority that Pittsburgh is so great at creating, at innovation and technology. We're just not great at then harnessing that and connecting it to solving real world problems, understanding the market, and there's a funding issue as well. And I think there's that ecosystem. We're very siloed. I'm really frustrated by that oftentimes, that even in a university like Carnegie Mellon, there's a lot of silos, and we're not always good at breaking down those silos. I mean, we can talk about issues of gender, race, all of that as well. But I think there's an inherent thing that we actually invent a lot of stuff here. We've invented a lot of stuff here. We're so good at inventing stuff here. We're not great at then creating and commercializing and building it and growing it here and creating wealth. I mean, somebody was, go for it. Yeah.
No, I was
Jump on that.
I mean, you're nailing it.
Okay.
So I've been in the ecosystem as I'm a CMU grad, tech founder, been at this for like 20 some years. I originally thought our problem was our marketing, our communication. I don't think that's the case anymore. And so it's funny that I have a joke, which I tell, a lot of people, which kind of runs on like you're saying, Pittsburgh can build anything but a company. When it comes to technology and engineering, we are spectacular. After I sold my company, I spent a lot of time on the West Coast with VCs, and they're like, what's going on in Pittsburgh? Give me the insider. And so they were very intrigued. And I think, a few years ago when the AV really became popular, they came in, they've now retreated, they've left. And I think, I actually work with Innovation Works and run ideation workshops, and the data that we see from that, it is eye-opening. You see, we will ask, because in those workshops we'll bring a lot of people from various industry in, and we'll bring all the tech ecosystem in, we get them together for a few days and create all these really cool solutions, and then at the end we have them pick their favorite solution. And what you see is a bifurcation. You'll see all the industry people's this is the idea we want.
Right.
You'll see over here, and you'll hear the technology people pick this thing over here, which is cool tech to build, but doesn't have the industry fit. And so I do think that is a problem for Pittsburgh, and it's a fundamental problem. I think we have, again, good engineering, but I think we are absent in things like product management, marketing, and just kind of the understanding, once you get into your technology gets you into a space, into a customer, but then listening and figuring out what they really need, and then taking what deploying it.
So I want to stick with that for a moment. If I can, Anya, kind of prompt you here, because you've kind of straddled this realm between being in government and now finding yourself in even deeper, I would say, in this makers innovation lab space. So I'm wondering if you can kind of speak to that. What are you seeing with companies? What are you hearing on the ground? Your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think I echo sort of my panelist colleagues in regards to some of the bigger challenges, but just to provide you some context, I work with small businesses and also early stage startups. And I think that's where really the critical moments happen, right? Not a lot of startups get to make it, and they face, we still have systematic barriers, racism that we still have to, that a lot of our entrepreneurs face. We have a lot of lack of funding. So I don't know if you all have been reading the 10-year strategy plan from the governor, and it puts us in regards to in regards to funding, we are not really scoring great, and we're also in regards to startup density, not that great either. So I think I think startups and entrepreneurs have many challenges, but at the beginning and early stages, it really takes that access to connections. It's not how rich is the city, but how connected is the city for the entrepreneur. So how intentional are we in regards to the connections that we're bringing to our entrepreneurs? Really understanding that funding, that early stage seed funding is critical, and a lot of folks are really getting access to that. And I think we can create many programs. We can have a lot of really great ideas, but with that also allowing the entrepreneurs to have that cash to hire someone or to learn a new skill or to really test early stage. It is very hard, and I think all of the entrepreneurs that are here can really speak more on that, from lived experiences. I think we have been making some progress. I think we have been seeing some hometown success stories, but I think one of the things that I do want to make sure that I comment is for a city like Pittsburgh, in spite of all of the challenges, the people that are making it work, the small businesses and also the startup successes that we have been seeing over the past few years, it takes them even harder to get there. So I think that's commendable, and I want to make sure that that we also are thinking about that. How can we be providing that access that they need, not just in the universities and all, but the community.
And
yeah, sure.
I think it's worth noting that this isn't the first time that we've seen this exact same sort of story play out, right? Andrew Carnegie built what became U.S. Steel here in Pittsburgh, but Carnegie Hall is in New York for a reason, right? He eventually moved to where the capital was, the financial capital was. You were describing building a successful technology, selling your company here, and then spending a lot of time on the West Coast, where the venture capital for these types of ventures is. The financing that we're all talking about congregates in certain places, and that creates a network effect that also draws the people to those places as well. So I don't have a particularly straightforward answer to that, other than I know we as city government, through programs like this one and the changes we've been able to institute by establishing the first buyer program. And by the way, Kyle Chintalopoli deserves all the credit for that one. That was his idea. Is it a small thing that we can do to help some of the ventures that are in the room and future rounds of this program do that? But that will be our continuing challenge, right? Is that the capital markets for this industry in particular aren't here, and so we'll continue to see that pool unless we identify competitive advantages in some segments that can make us build some local, again, that sort of network cluster effect.
Agreed.
So kind of capturing that, Director Pollack, I want to stick with you for a minute. So as your roles as Deputy Mayor and as Director of the Office of Management and Budget, taking all this information in, how do you balance kind of that fiscal responsibility between diving into innovation, pushing all this forward, and then the city budget, and then technological advancement? Where does that kind of intersection happen?
Yeah, so we were actually just talking about this with Nair from, is it Karar? Okay, cool, I got it right. One of the cool things that government can do in this space that the private sector really doesn't is we're actually more focused primarily on the intangible impacts of our investments than we are on the financial bottom line. The spending is kind of the means to the end. It's not the thing we're most focused on. Whereas in the private sector, these are for-profit companies. Their primary goal is to make money. We don't make money on anything, but we do make outcomes, right? And so I really think of my team as the Office of Management and Budget. The fiscal portion is important, but only insofar as it's serving the ends of improving the product that we're producing for city residents and taxpayers. So investments in technological solutions that make our services better or faster or more efficient, it's always worth the expenditure. And for that matter, investment in management solutions or just different training, different techniques similarly, right? We're much more focused on how we can do the work better and how we can make the money serve that purpose. And there are so many ways that technology can play a role in that for us, because Pittsburgh is an older city. We have older structures and institutions, right? And we have a procurement code that I think was first written in the 1930s and has never been updated since. It's just sort of been added upon like a Christmas tree with different ornaments of, in the 70s, this was a really important concept to someone, so they squeezed it in here. Last year, we needed to fix something that was broken, so we added something there. We need to sort of comprehensively fix things like that. But there are so many workflows that are like that too, in tax collection, in HR processes, right? And technology is right now helping us streamline and fix a lot of those things. I mean, again, I'll just point to Karar, like the work the value that technology can add to the ways in which we evaluate cost proposals will help us make that process work a lot better. So the innovation is worth the money if it can help us deliver better services. And that is, in my view, the fiscally responsible thing at the end of the day.
Karen, I do want to jump over to you, actually. I saw many head nods going on during this. So, as someone who is specialized in this innovation leadership, I'm curious, what do you believe are some of the most important factors for steering that technological advancement? perhaps at CMU, but also in partnership with the city?
Sure. Yeah. So just to echo what Jake was talking about, it's really, and also we were talking about it, it's really about solving a real world problem that isn't just identified by the technologist, and it is identified by the person who has that problem. So the work that we do and that I've been doing at Metro 21 and now with Safety 21 is taking this really great technology, but then working with community. So each project that we do has to have a deployment partner. So it has to be a municipality and or an equity partner, because they are the ones that are dealing with this issue. So if it's like I'm working on a project with Penn State on using fiber optic network cable, I think we talked about this, with using it as a sensor for environmental hazards. And so we're working closely with the City of Pittsburgh Planning Department, and DQE is a partner. So this public-private partnership is absolutely critical. But at the end of the day, it's meant to be a tool to help improve and address climate-related issues and environmental hazards like sinkholes and potholes that become bigger and then take out buses, right? And so it's this idea of how to use technology as a tool to solve a real-world problem as opposed to a technology in search of a market. And that's just like basic business, like that's business. And I think sometimes when we are in the public sector, we forget about those sort of business 101 issues about addressing the market. So it is about product marketing. It is, and it's timing. It's also timing. I can remember companies. I don't know if anyone remembers Body Media. This is like taking us back a few years. They were ahead of their time, right? They used an accelerometer sensor as a way of monitoring heart and other types of it was basically heart monitor, basically for your wrist, and then it became jawbone, right? And then it became this, right? They were 25 years ahead of their time, and so they did eventually go out of business. And so that's part of this issue. Is it's not just it's solving a real world problem, but it's also living long enough and having that financial backing and the advice to be placed at the right time. And in the public sector, you've also got to be. It's a combination of like we have a memo of understanding with the city, but it's really great that the mayor signed something. Oh, isn't that lovely? Like, it's so lovely that I know you and everything. But you're not going to enact, like in the trenches. Like, it's going to be the public, the policy people. It's going to be legislature. It's going to be like there's some serious there's people in the community that are going to advocate for change. They're going to advocate for investment. So it's a bottom-up as well as top-down approach at the same time. And it also takes a long time. Projects take a long time. So you want to do these pilots and that's why PGH Lab is so fantastic, because you're showing the realm of the possible. You're demonstrating it, that it can work. And then the hard part is, right, in getting customers and having longevity and having investors. But I guess the point being that it is focusing on solving real world problems always, right? That technology could be anything. It could be bubblegum, but if it's not solving a real world problem, it's not gonna succeed. And then the other piece of it I just want to bring in is, in order for it to be scalable, it needs to be integrated. It needs to be integrated into existing infrastructure. So that means like you're talking with procurement. It's like working with procurement officers. It's not just kind of throwing software over the transom and hoping it sticks. It's working with so it's working with the people in PWSA, making sure that the format that it's in is in Esri and they can adopt it with what they're doing. So it's all those little nitty-gritty things throughout the whole ecosystem, and that is not always sexy. That's not always exciting, when it comes to startups. But if you want to have that success, you've got to be understanding and that's the product marketing. It's like not only what is your technology, but where is it going to place and where does it fit in and who cares, right? Like who's going to care and make that time.
So that's something I kind of want to pull at the thread of, right? Like we kind of mentioned a few things in there. We mentioned like ideas, we mentioned like product scale, we mentioned viability. So kind of Aaron and then Anya, or perhaps a dual dialogue, if you will. I'm kind of curious, Aaron, you have a strong background in like robotics and entrepreneurship. So I'm kind of curious like how is it that you identify these ideas of emerging technology? And then how do you kind of say, you know, this has the potential to be commercially viable? And then Anya, over on your side, you know, you have been pretty steeped in this entrepreneurial ecosystem. So I'm kind of curious, like, what are like perhaps some key topics for entrepreneurs to think about as they look at this idea of viability in the Pittsburgh ecosystem? So
I know I kind of tossed it both, which I don't know if there's dialogue or if you want to go first.
Yeah, I can, because again, Karen and I are like weirdly in mental sync, like complete sentences. So in terms of, I think the very first thing, and again, it's another inside joke I'm sharing with you guys. I feel close to you guys. I call it the CMU curse, but it's really the technology curse, because as a technologist, you're challenged to do amazing things. Like, it's almost like magic. Like, you take these bits and you take cameras, and all of a sudden you've got, you know, a machine you can interact with, and it's amazing. And then you feel very accomplished because of that, and you feel, well, sales should be easy because I can make a machine that can interact with me, right? And customers should just want this because I built it for them, so everyone else should want it. And so you kind of get stuck in that mindset, and it takes a while to shake loose. And I think my aha moment was, you know, coming out of my first company, we worked with General Motors, writing a lot of software for their autonomous vehicle program, but then was introduced to a group called Central Layout, which digitized the inside of their buildings, their manufacturing facilities for layout. And the way they do that is person drags a piece of equipment through the facility. And they said, wouldn't it be great if I had a robot that did that? And then, since you guys do robots, yeah. And so I built a robot, and it was a terrible idea. Like, the first time we took it out, it almost got taken out by a forklift because it did not fit into the environment. And but it was a very cool, catchy thing. So I took it to a conference, and at an event with probably some alcohol, one of our customers came up. It's like, I don't care about the robot, but the software that it's running is phenomenal. That was the aha moment. We stopped immediately, other than taking it out and, you know, to conferences for cool, and just built the software, and that's what got us acquired by Autodesk just a month later. So the first thing you have to do is really, you know, I look at startups as thesis, they're science experiments. Like, you get into it with a thesis, and then you have to, like, here's the metrics by which we're going to validate the thesis. And once you get out there, once you start learning, you know, what customers really need, you have to change course. And it may be uncomfortable because it may not be at all, like you said. I'm very familiar with Esri. But you have to fit in with Esri at some point if you're in that environment, because they own that market. And so, yeah, it's not cool, it's not high tech, but it's integration, it's relationships. And so, you know, as a technologist, I'm always looking for the pain point first.
And so, Anya, to kind of kick it over to you and perhaps build off of that, right? So we have one experience here from a couple different companies, but you are consistently working with a rotation of companies. So I'm kind of curious if you're like finding a thread or kind of what your thoughts are on like, how do companies like spur on that innovation? How do you find that aha moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. I think in regards to like, how do you, you know, come up with ideas and things like that. It could be, you know, based on like your trade, your skills, where you went to school and things like that. Or it's just like a personal problem that you're solving. I work with entrepreneurs that have had, you know, life-threatening experiences, and that sparked them to maybe taking upon themselves to bring a solution to something. So I think it really depends on like sort of like, what is it that you want to like make an impact? What kind of problem you're trying to really solve, and what is your contribution in it? In regards to like, I echo what Aaron and Karen are saying in regards to like, if there is not a problem, you don't have a solution. You really have to get that right. You know, we see it over and over again. People coming up with like the best and the latest thing, but then we don't have someone to connect them to, or there's not a market for it, there's not enough research. So I think although it's not sexy at the beginning, you really just have to spend time doing that research. So in regards to topics, if you are thinking about starting a company or early stages, at Ascender, we care a lot about customer discovery. And we just hammer it out. It's a goal that you have to accomplish in order to graduate. We cannot talk about it enough. And we really want to do this for two things. One, obviously, idea validation, but you're also getting out there. You're talking to people. You're talking to your potential customers. You really are understanding the pain point. If you're not designing for the humans, for the people, then what are you really doing? So customer discovery is extremely important. Two resources that I always recommend to all entrepreneurs are Project Olympus. They have an extensive library of customer discovery questions and interviews that they have put together, videos. So I always recommend our entrepreneurs. I know Kwaku went through Project Olympus, so he could tell you a little bit more about that. And then I know Max have recommended in the past this book called The Mom Test. At the beginning of the early stages, really thinking about, how are you really designing and creating these products, and and how can you improve them and pivot them. But after, the initial stages, for us at Ascender, we like to say that we are finance focused. Once you have some validation, once you have maybe some more research under your belt, you're trying to create an MVP and things like that, we also want to make sure that you understand your numbers. I think we work with experts that come in and they're great in their field, but they need our help in regards to the business side of things. So really understanding what it takes to also build a sustainable business, a business that eventually, you have to make money, right? You have to feed your family, you have to make it sustainable. So really, really thinking about that early on, even, while you're also doing all of the exploration. And then just thinking about that customer, thinking about, what do you have in your toolbox, and what don't you have, so that you can find helpers, so that you can connect to different resources that can help you fill in those gaps.
Excellent. So as we're kind of talking about our companies, as we're talking about something that you're bringing forth for yourself, I want to open it up to the whole panel. I'm curious as to what y'all's thoughts are on, as we talk about technological advances, we talk about that aha moment, that who is your customer, what are you serving, what intentionality has to come behind those efforts to make sure that we're not leaving behind our underserved population, so that we are considering those areas of the city, those people that perhaps might not have been part of this process historically? What's kind of going through your minds, or how do we kind of approach that with intentionality?
I think it's also just part of makes business sense. I mean, the world is diverse, and there's a lot of research actually done by some researchers at Carnegie Mellon that businesses that are diverse are more successful. They actually make more money. It's numbers. So that if you're looking to, having a diverse workforce, having a diversity of opinions, having a diverse board is actually going to make money for you. So it makes smart business sense to build that in from the beginning.
Yeah, I think in the context of the broader question, right, of how do we ensure that the benefits, right, of these investments of time or energy or money, one of the key limiting factors is access, right? And this is a public sector problem, or at least a problem that we here in Pittsburgh are very anxious to take on, right? Which is that as the world in which our residents are existing becomes more interconnected and technologically interconnected, how do we ensure that every one of our residents has the same ability to connect to those tools, right? That if we have significant disparities in access to high quality broadband in the city, and then there is a really innovative tool that someone else in this room or on this panel comes up with, but only, there's huge gaps or disparities in how available that tool is to someone, be it by devices or service, right? Then not everyone's getting a chance to use that tool to maybe start their own company, right? And so we have a responsibility in those areas around sort of core infrastructure, right? Like in this country, essentially, we have governments, local governments, or investor-owned utilities with kind of closed monopolies that provide those things. And so one or the other has to step into that space. And we're betting on local government to be the body that can make that connection.
I think I could speak for almost everyone in the room when I say we're down to lend our support behind that. Excellent. Any other thoughts, Anya or Aaron?
It's a complicated topic. For those who know me, the other thing that I a few years ago acquired a bowling alley with my family, so I run it.
Love it.
And so you know, far departure from technology, but you're in the weeds with people, right? And you know, one thing that again I press point because like we're talking about technology and you know inclusion and getting make sure it's equitable for everybody. Technology doesn't care. Like it does not care who it serves, what it serves. At the end of the day, it's government, it's small business, it's us who are sort of responsible for figuring out how to be, you know, good to others, hiring practices and bringing people, you know, at all levels with us. So I think that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I definitely want to echo Aaron. I think if you're in a position where you're a service provider and are really looking into like tackle, you know, making everything look like our communities look like, it's your responsibility to do something. I think in order to really break down big barriers, systematic barriers and everything, it takes bold initiatives, innovation, and also for all of us to do the work. So for example, you know, like even doing things like, you know, how is your marketing? You know, if you have a program where you want the entire city to take advantage of it, are you making sure that the marketing is accessible, that it's not maybe lengthy or hard to understand? You know, where are you putting the marketing? Are you touching all of the neighborhoods? You know, is it, you know, are you trying to also, sure, you know, hit the universities, but also our communities? Who are the community champions in each community, not just silos? I think it does take a lot of work, and I think if we all really want to change, we just really have to commit and do it. And it can be small actions, big actions, funding. You know, the fact that PGH Lab now has funding is huge for the stage at which for the targeted startups that you work with. It makes a big difference. You know, holding up inventory for some startups is just sometimes not impossible, and not everybody who, you know, like if you have family money and you can, you know, your family is investing and you're bootstrapping with that money, great. But if you don't have the privilege to really get to hold up products and services. But we have great organizations. I do want to shout out Juan Garrett there with Riverside Center for Innovation, who has been doing this work, you know, for many years in Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh is also a better place, more inclusive because of that center's and Juan's work too. So yeah, so it really takes all of us, and it's our responsibility to do it.
So before we go to our last general question, I did want to kind of kick once more to you, Director Pollack. So you've kind of mentioned, you know, we're doing a lot of cool and innovative things at the city. I would especially like to highlight that the Gainey administration has been very intentional and inclusive. We're doing city in the streets. We're looking at broadband. There's so many things that we're doing. So I kind of wanted to pick your brain for the audience for a minute. Like, what new technology projects like excite you, or are you excited about that we're working on here at the city, and like what is your hope for that ultimate achievement once they find their way to market?
Sure. So go back to the point that both Aaron and Karen made. It's about the problem statement, right? So and so it's rarely the technology itself, right, that gets me excited. It's about what problem it helps us solve, right? So just looking at even the companies that were in this cohort first, just to think about that, right? Like the ability either for our own internal purposes, as we build out a traffic management system, right? We are working right now on developing a traffic management center in the new, soon-to-be opened 412 Boulevard of the Allies city facility that will bring together the data from our various sort of connected pieces of infrastructure, streetlights, cameras, things of that nature. Traffic lights, I mean, although streetlights too could be part of that. For that reason, ways to use existing infrastructure to understand loads on roadways and things like that it could be an interesting input into that system. And so that's why I kind of find that part of the presentation exciting. That same system can help us understand the complicated sort of interactions we have between different modes of transportation in our roadways. So data that Chuck's team is collecting could also be valuable. I'm just pointing to addressing the problem statements really what gets me excited. What are we working on? So we're overhauling, or we're getting ready to replace the kind of central financial management system that runs the entire city government, right? From the money we take in taxes to how the money is sort of managed behind the scenes, allocated out to departments, the way they interact with how they need to get money to do their work, and then money goes out the door. That's a huge, gargantuan project, but we're sorely overdue for it. We're essentially, doing those calculations on digital abacuses and STEM tablets right now, and so that's a really important one. I'm very excited about some of the innovative work we've done in public safety, and in particular the police bureau, again on deploying integrated technology that connects police officers' body-worn cameras to their service weapon, to the cameras in their car, to the sort of tracking technology back in the police station, both for better real-time awareness of what's going on and for accountability purposes, right? We will have we get a much clearer picture of what's happening and how then policy can inform better interactions. Other important projects, again, just sort of really critical nuts and bolts stuff like how we communicate with each other and moving away from sort of ancient terrestrial landline technology in our offices is going to be really important. The work that we're starting to explore around broadband connections and establishing a robust city fiber network to integrate our different facilities is groundbreaking for us. So there's no shortage of problem statements in local government, and in ours in particular, right? Because it is old and it's in need of investment and refresh, but also because local governments are on the ground, right? Like all of those very real world tangible problems that Karen was talking about, we run into them, and because we administer the sort of the public realm, right? Roads, streets, bridges, the stuff that, as I said earlier, doesn't make any money, and so others are not sort of addressing those problems from a financial incentive. We got plenty of problems to solve, but I think we're ambitiously pursuing them.
One could say we're becoming a smart city. Buzzwords galore.
Source of inspiration though, to really solve those problems and figure out how to also give back to your own city and what kind of impact you can make, with these partnerships.
And the other piece of it too is communicating that to the community so they understand that, robots are your friends. This technology is here to actually help improve your quality of life.
Absolutely.
And it is not a threat.
Yeah.
And it is worth the investment. And and it's not intangible. So I think that communication piece is so critical. And the city actually does a pretty good job of doing that. And
Thank you.
I actually think the Engage PGH website
Yes.
is fantastic. And the work that your city planners do and the communities is fantastic. So that's.
If I could just make it, when you mentioned Engage, that just made me think of a point that I wanted to make.
Go for it.
When both of you were talking earlier, right? That the platform kind of standardization is so important when you're looking at problem-solving questions like that, right? A technology can provide a really useful way to analyze a problem, but if we can't incorporate that into the way we do the work on a daily basis,
Right.
then it's not helpful to it. It's not as helpful as it could
Or
be.
if it lives on someone's laptop in a PDF.
Right.
Right? It needs to be digital and it needs to be interactive. Like, 311 has learned a lot,
Yep.
right,
Mhm.
over
Absolutely.
the years. And Engage PGH is speaking to that. So
Definitely.
I think the city, you've done a great job.
Excellent. Well, I was going to ask one more question, but you kind of took the words right out of my mouth there. No, by all means. So I did want to offer to the audience, if there's anyone that has questions for our panel, we'd love to get your thoughts. We got a microphone here. Chase Klingingsmith. Yes. I'd love to know what questions you have for our panel.
Was the groundbreaking comment, was that a pun? Was that intentional?
Sorry?
What was the groundbreaking project? Was that an intentional pun? I wasn't planning on asking a question.
So I would add, because from what I'm interpreting for the groundbreaking, right, we have so many projects going on. We have the fiber going on, right? We have boots on the ground.
Oh, got it. Sorry, okay, I'm following you.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Answer's yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, and.
Any other questions?
Oh, yes.
Thanks. My name's Victoria. Yeah, you guys talked a lot about product market fit, customers, solving real pain. I guess, how do you guys work with founders to say, this baby, your dream, this thing you've been building, it's ugly, now change it? Like, how do you work on changing that inside your founders you might work with or talk to?
Anna, you want to take that one?
It's very hard. It's very hard, right? Because we're talking about people's livelihoods, and it's not just an idea that's sexy or anything. I mean, I think there are many great ideas out there, a lot of problems to solve, but it's very hard. But there are some sort of like guardrails, that where we can, and it's also part of the discovery. I think startups, get some really good feedback, but sometimes they're going to get the hard feedback and the necessary feedback. And I think most likely is like what we sort of like discuss at Ascender is like, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to solve big problems, even if your first idea fails, you're probably going to think about something else. So sometimes in this job, it's more about how can we help entrepreneurs and founders really fail fast so that they can get quicker to the idea that it will really, really bring value. It will really build that company. So I think it's an iterative process, and it can be difficult, but it's also part of understanding, like this is a very stressful environment. How can we create communities and networks for entrepreneurs to, when they find those difficult conversations, that they can actually fall back into like a community that has their back. That's something that we really care. But most important is like accountability, and you can't be afraid to really provide the feedback, and also tell your entrepreneur, hey, this is what my perspective is. What is the data telling you? Can you talk to another advisor? Can I connect you to someone else so that you can also come to your own decisions about how you want to make things work?
Kind of unrelated or attached to that is, again, I think it's important for founders of a company, it's like they definitely have to cross this bridge if they go out for fundraising, because the moment you take funding, you are now at risk at no longer running your business. And so it's important for everybody who starts a company to realize you'll be successful if the business runs without you. Mm-hmm. Like, you will have achieved it if you no longer, and being through now many startups, believe me, at some point you will want out. So I think it's important to instill that from the very beginning, that even though you're now integral and important to the process, like, your goal is to make sure you build an organization that allows, that can survive, that allows you to step out and claim victory.
I guess I would just add to that. I hope that city government, or just speaking to it from the customer, ideally, or kind of early stage customer perspective, at least in the context of your question, right? My hope is that we can facilitate those aha moments where, like, if someone builds a product based on their vision, right, and then through putting it through its paces with us, you can discover what the really marketable piece of it is. And you might have thought it was the robot until in using it, someone tells you what I really see value in here is the software, right? And so, if we can be the place where you sort of road test what you envisioned as a freestanding sort of software application that you discover through working with us, like, hey, this gives us really, really valuable visibility into our data, but we're not really going to be able to use that much unless it's integrated into the workflow that we use that data for. So like, instead of making this a thing, can you make it something with an API that integrates into how we manage our money or how we manage our inventory? Right? Maybe we can help you sort of understand that landscape.
Yeah, the customers will tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, they will.
Hi, the name is Volker. I've been in Pittsburgh for quite a while, actually, as a tech innovator. And you alluded to the silo problem, which also ties into talent acquisition and retention. We churn out a number of very high-level technologists, both on the engineering and science level. It seems to be a problem to A, retain them, and B, break down those silos. Is there any good approach? Because as a job seeker myself currently, and many of my friends are in the same position, it's very hard to re-enter that technology space, actually. Any good ideas or suggestions?
I will say that, having been in Pittsburgh a while, that it's a hell of a lot better than it used to be, right?
True.
Okay, so it could be worse. And I've seen it. My husband is lots of war stories of failed startups. And there are good, like I met a gentleman here who's doing some meetups, right? And so like those are the things that I think are really unique in Pittsburgh, that we are finding ways to connect. I don't know about you, but like the pandemic sucked really bad for me and my family in so many ways. And we lost a lot of those places to connect and find community. And so I really feel like we are so ripe for that right now. And so there's so many places. So I feel like Pittsburgh is well poised for those connection opportunities. And there are people who help support that, right? We have support throughout the region. I will say though, I work at an institution where there's a lot of silos, and so it's got to be intentional. And it's like we were talking about issues of breaking down any barrier. It has to be intentional, but the result will be positive, right? It will actually be something. So I feel like we can do it. We are doing it. We can do better.
A slight entrepreneurial perspective on it is that, and clearly marks me as an entrepreneur. Like, I am hard to employ. Okay, I'm a terror, and so I think I've started every company I've ever created, out of a job interview, right? Because I will go in. And the conversation will start about, what brings you to it, and then I will launch into like, well, I think you should be doing this. And then at the end of the conversation, I don't actually want the job, and I walked away, and they'll say, hey, can you do that? I'll do it as a company. I'm like, okay. So I feel that you actually, again, job market and entry is tough, but if you find what's interesting to you, and then you like if I were there, what would I do? And figure out, if you can get a connection, get a conversation going, you'd be surprised, if you got passion around what a group is doing, what they'll provide you. It's tough right now. That is absolutely true.
Other questions from the crowd?
Hi, I'm Courtney. I am from the public. I do have a little bit of background in startups and entrepreneurship and stuff like that. And as we've heard from some of the cohorts today, people are, starting these ideas in Pittsburgh, shopping them around in different cities. These are really helpful, thoughtful, civically oriented ideas. And typically in startups, as everyone's mentioned, we're concerned with profitability. So how do you scale an idea that helps people but may not make money? Does Pittsburgh help in networking that? Do you find a city just like Pittsburgh somewhere else and port your idea over there? What are your thoughts on that?
I've got a couple, but they're not great. I will be honest. I find as an entrepreneur, getting or starting in with government being your first customer is very, very difficult. I was actually, first off, kudos to PGH Lab. Whoever the funding was phenomenal. I think you're going to see a lot of success out of that. I was a cohort. It looks, I think city governments need a lot of support. When we came in, I think it was funny because I'm in the same sort of infrastructure, and we started off with a project that did analysis of parking, mapping out parking, and when we were doing that, Domi came in. It's like, hey, we need to know where streetlights are because we're rolling out 5G. We've got to be permitting these things. And our maps are a little outdated. I'm like, okay, well, send me your map. I'll see where you're at. And they sent me an Excel spreadsheet and said there's a street light on Forbes Avenue. I'm like, all right, we're starting from ground up. So the need is significant. But what I found, like getting into this, and again through that, we actually tried our expansion. We actually did some work with cities, biggest being City of New York. And what you find out is you get stifled at the procurement. Yeah. Because it has nothing to do, we were working with like New York City DOT, they wanted it. We were doing accessibility of bus stops, citizens wanted it, but to get in to the organization, the partnership, I partnered with Ezra, partnered with everybody, and in the end, it still went sideways. So it's very difficult, particularly as an early stage startup company, to work with governments.
There have been successful companies that have done that. I wouldn't say that they were socially minded companies, like they were companies, right? So companies that have spun out of Carnegie Mellon, Robotics, which was later acquired by Michelin, at their core, it's vision-based.
Vision-based. I think that the point of it is, I don't think you can focus solely.
Right, but
you have to have corporate.
Selling to
you have to sell to multiple stakeholders. Yes.
Really, really, really slog.
Yeah.
Like tough slog.
Yeah.
Really tough work.
Yeah. So thinking about it, Aaron mentioned the fact that this is now a first customer program. I think one of the things you probably would see, and I could all kind of pick this up, I think, during the videos, right, is that because we were focused on not just innovative ideas and companies that could use that could benefit from this opportunity to sort of test and iterate, but ones who are solving a problem directly aimed at the needs of city government, right? Then the types of solutions that this group of four are bringing have unique applications in the public sector, right? So again, it's not necessarily, I don't want to speak for any of the founders in there, but it's not necessarily a social focus to the company. It's that it's solving a problem that governments have.
And that's the market.
Right. And so governments, utilities, and sort of like big agencies like the Defense Department, right? They're the ones that have networks of underground pipe infrastructure, right? So, if I think the conversation that we're having here, to a degree, right, is if you're kind of in that market segment, then these sort of tools work. I think that if and there could be opportunities to sort of move laterally from among cities that face similar problems. We're not the only city with aging underground infrastructure, and so a company like Kevin's, once there's some success here or proof of concept here, that becomes a market that's open. The other really important thing I think that you just mentioned, Karen, right, and this was maybe a point I was edging around earlier with robotics then being acquired by Michelin, right. Is it is that integration factor at some point, right? Like at some point, really good standalone companies will become a module that is a product inside of a much bigger, to then have that scale, right? So you might want to prove the concept, and then with an understanding that your goal is to have your tool become part of a toolbox that someone's buying, as part of a bigger integrated suite, because then again, it's that network effect of all the things working together with each other.
All right, we have time for, I think, one more question if there's anyone else from the audience. Get my steps in today.
Hi, I'm Martina. I have kind of two questions. One of them is a clarification question. You were saying that the problem of Pittsburgh is not marketing, it's something else, and I could not hear like the other part, what it was. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, me?
And the second question is, what can we do to attract more funding to support Pittsburgh startups?
It's something else. So again, my kind of view of things, it is a product market fit fundamental problem, right? Like I think there's a lot of really compelling, interesting technology, a lot of research, world-class, groundbreaking, but then getting out and understanding what a customer problem is, how do they fit it in, and then how do you fit into the broader ecosystem? Like that's what you really don't appreciate. Like, okay, great, I have this amazing tool. It can find every streetlight in the city of Pittsburgh. Unless it is compatible in Esri or whatever, piece of software they're using to manage, I think that was your comment, it doesn't matter. It's like the technology is useless unless the people who can use it. So I think a lot of that is one of the big problems. And in terms of funding, I think one of my when I was first panel, that was the same comment was like, there's no funding here. You can get some funding, but I think when it comes to the venture capital markets and we still saw a handful of years ago with autonomous vehicle, like a lot of money came into those companies, a lot was built up, but at the end of the day, I think as a whole the community didn't see a lot of it. Even when my last company was acquired by a West Coast company called Autodesk, we were an engineering house, right? We weren't a center of business. And so, that limits what you can do in the community.
Well, with that, I think we're good to conclude the panel. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Everyone, if we could give a quick round of applause for our panel. I'd also like to give a quick round of applause for Riverside Center for Innovation for letting us in this beautiful space. And then finally for you all for taking the time to kind of join us on this journey today. So thank you very much. The rest of the evening's yours. And by all means, please take some leftovers.